Math Equity and Math Standards. Journal Week 1. Equity versus equality. From the picture you can see that equality is doing the same thing for each person, whereas equity is doing something different for each person to hold them up to a different standard. The same standard. You can see the first one, they all have the same size boxes, and the little one still can't see the baseball game. And the second one, with equity, they're given the right amount of boxes so that they can see the game. Two explicit examples of these differences. Equity is when you give everyone the same test and the same amount of time to take it. That would be equality. And equity is testing students to the same standards, but in ways that consider their different likes, giving students an IEP that allows them for more time on the test. And number 2, equality is giving everyone the same lecture. Equity is providing comprehensible content with pictures and examples that connect with each student's funds of knowledge. Explain how you will ensure equity and equality in your mathematics classroom. Well, I will give everyone the same opportunities to learn, but apply different needs to the different students. There are 3 principles to follow. Learning with understanding is based in connecting and organizing knowledge around big conceptual ideas. Learning builds on what students already know. Instruction in school should take advantage of students' informal knowledge of mathematics. I plan to use these principles to guide my teaching so I can hold all of my students to high expectations and provide the support and encouragement they need. Moving on to math content standards. The math content standard that I selected was operations and algebraic thinking. The way it progresses in kindergarten, they are to understand addition as putting together and adding to, and understand subtraction as taking apart and taking from. In first grade, it changes to represent and solve problems involving addition and subtraction, understand and apply properties of operations and the relationship between addition and subtraction, add, subtract, and subtract within 20, work with addition and subtraction equations. In second grade, they do the same things, but they represent and solve problems involving addition and subtraction, add and subtract within 20, which is very much like first grade, and then they work with equal groups of objects to gain foundations for multiplication. We're moving on to multiplication. And third, represent and solve problems involving multiplication and division, understand the properties of multiplication and the relationship between multiplication and division, multiply and divide within 100, solve problems involving the 4 operations, and identify and explain patterns in arithmetic. By 4th grade, they are to use the 4 operations, add, subtract, multiply, divide, with whole numbers to solve problems, gain familiarity with factors and multiples, generate and analyze patterns. By 5th grade, they're to write and interpret numerical expressions, analyze patterns and relationships. And in 6th grade, it changes from algebraic to expressions and equations, but it's the same thing. Apply and extend previous understanding of arithmetic to algebraic expressions. Reason about and solve one variable equations. That means like an x or a y, not a x and a y. And inequalities means greater than, less than. Represent and analyze quantitative relationships between dependent and independent variables. My resources are the Common Core State Standards Math from the State Standards site, and I used a article by A. Sun called "Equality is Not Enough," and that's the end. Thanks.